The electoral process in most African countries has often been plagued with crises, but what may be the cause of these electoral crises, which at times lead to violence?
I think since Africa was given the option of electoral democracy, it has actually been facing problems with how to contend with other forms of democracy apart from electoral democracy. And I think the major problem we're suffering from today is that most African leaders did not believe in elections. They actually wanted to go the way one-party systems went, which was just a matter of reconvening them as presidents of the country. But of course, multi-party has come to stay. So what I think African leaders and the African population has to do now is to acclimatize themselves to the various facets of electoral democracy.
To George Ngwane, a Pan-Africanist, the personalization of power has played a vital role in the electoral crisis affecting Africa.
Right, what you call actually self-centered is actually what most people call the personalization of power, where leaders are not saying that power or their governance structure is part of a state institution, but they see it as a personal preserve which takes them from one mandate to another. And this is actually a fundamental problem, because when opposition leaders, when the population doesn't find another conduit of taking away leaders that don't yield, that don't give a lot to the population, they are bound to rise up.
To him, Africa will be a better place if the Pan-Africanism spirit is practiced.
So it's important that we begin to see ourselves as Pan-Africanist, working towards an African-centered development rather than a development that is based on external interest.
He further outlined some of the things or processes to put in place in order to achieve a better electoral process in Africa.
Examples, I think what comes to mind, Botswana. Simple, great enough. Botswana was able to have their elections and they moved from one. In fact, it was still an inter-party movement, but it worked. We had, before the putsch in Mali, we used to have the case of smooth elections in Mali before the putsch came up. We've had it in Nigeria. Remember, Nigeria might also be a bastion of coup d'etats, but we've also had cases where there has been smooth transition.
Thus, his message was clear to Africans.
It's very difficult, but sometimes best to have an inclusive and broad-based, maybe opposition parties and non-state actors are all involved within that election management board. We also need to have a body that can freely proclaim results without having their hands tied. And in most cases, they call it the Constitutional Council.
With all said, George Ngwane believes if African leaders stop personalizing their presidential positions and look forward on Pan-Africanizing the continent, then Africa will be a better place in no distant time.